Hey guys, I'm about to get started mulling some Phthalo turquoise and figured I would make a video to share the process with you guys. So I want to show you quickly a couple of the things that I'm going to be doing to set up and keep safe. I've got ratios and measurements from a previous batch that I made. My pigments are in the bag, and I'm going to be making a larger mixture in this old spice container that's been thoroughly washed and sanitized so that I can make batches of this color easier in the future before I actually start mulling today's batch. So I think I've got everything ready to go now. I just got my binder out of the fridge. And this batch is 2 months old now, by the way, and it's been holding up perfectly in the fridge. I've got my messy pigment batch that we're going to experiment with and see how this works today, and all my stuff is all laid out, so I'm ready to give this a try. So I've just done an initial mulling on this batch here. Super quick, just to kind of get things together. And I can already tell that it's going to need some adjusting. I just wanted to show you guys what this looks like after literally like 2 minutes of mulling, like not a lot at all. This color is going to look very grainy right now, which you can see, and actually pretty dull. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. The color is not nearly as bright and as vibrant as it will be when we're done. Super grainy, and that's just because the pigment's not all dispersed, so it's gonna look pretty grainy right now. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm also thinking it may be a little bit too green, so I might have to add some more blue, but I'm going to keep mulling it, maybe add some more binder, and this one's just gonna need some time being mulled. So I'm still working on this, but I wanted to show you, it's kind of been a while, to be honest, like a long while. I wanted to show you the progression here. This is where we started, up here. I'm covered in stuff. It's okay. Yeah, anyway, we started up here. It was very grainy, and you can see the color is getting better. It's a bit shiny now. Anyway. You can see the color's getting better, and that is not because we added more pigment. It may look like it because the color's duller up here, but this is actually because we added a ton more binder. I don't know how I got my ratios so off, but I've been adding a ton more binder. The pigment up here, it just didn't have anywhere to go. So by adding more binder, it's dispersing more, and our color's getting smoother and cleaner, and we're getting close. We're getting close. The batch size keeps growing. It's a little bit crazy, to be honest. I think it needs more binder, even though I've added so much. So normally I don't add more binder like this, but I'll show you. Normally I scoop it all into a small pile before I add more binder. So I'm going to add another 2 teaspoons. And this is, I'm really just kind of gauging this by how much I know I've added so far and how far I think the paint is from ready. The reason that I'm saying that it is not ready yet, if we look at my sheet here, you can still see some graininess a little bit. not too much. And when I rub it with a paper towel, it does rub a little bit. So I'm adding some more binder, and I'll stir that in. The only benefit to the fact that I have to keep adding binder is that my batch size is getting bigger. So I'm hoping that it will be longer and longer before I need to make this color again. And you may be wondering why I'm even doing this if it seems so stressful. It is stressful. This is the most stressful color to make. It's a big mess, and I haven't gotten the ratios right yet, so I don't have a refined formula. Once I have a formula where I can say this is the recipe that I'm going to use every time, it'll get easier. But also the batch size getting bigger, yeah, I'll have more pans of this and won't have to make it again very soon, I'm hoping. I'd only done a small batch of this color before, so hopefully this will fill several half pans, and I won't have to make this one again for a while. I do love this color though, which is kind of like the, I don't know, makes it a little bit bittersweet because this is one of my favorite colors that I've made. This Phthalo Turquoise, I just love it. It's gorgeous, and I love to mix with it. So we're getting there. It's getting better. And it will soon be ready, I think. Okay, so that's the initial mixing with that. Burp, burp, burp. And now I'm gonna take my muller and mold this a bit. I've also been listening to an audiobook while working on this batch, so that's been nice. It was not nice that it took longer than I anticipated, so I had to rush through having dinner with my family because I had to pause this and then go have dinner and then come back and finish it. And I never want that to happen. I wanted to make paint tonight just for fun, and ended up having to spend more time on this one batch than I wanted to, which happens when you're trying to figure out ratios when you're first getting started. And this was one of the biggest things I was thinking of when I knew I wanted to make videos about this process. I was just thinking, sorry guys, I was just thinking, wow, it sure would be nice if other people didn't have to feel quite as stressed about this as I am. Sometimes, not all the time. Some colors come together really easily. This just isn't one of them. Hopefully it will be. So I didn't mention this before, but while I am working with the pigment dust, like while I have the actual pigment out before it's been mixed with the binder, I'm always wearing a respirator over my face because you don't want to breathe in pigment dust. So I always wear a respirator when I'm working with the actual pigment powder, and I also wear gloves, but I hate wearing gloves for anything. I don't like to wear gloves. So as soon as the pigment is initially mixed in to the binder, I'll take the gloves and the respirator off. I'll usually give it a couple minutes in case there's any, you know, just pigment dust left in the air. I guess technically the safest thing to do is to keep it on the whole time, but I haven't been doing that, so I'm just being honest. Another thing, obviously, no food or drinks in here, in this room, while I'm making paint. That's like changing a lot, isn't it? Yeah, no food or drinks in here while I'm making paint, and also, oh, that's changing a lot. I'm sorry, guys. But also my kids are not allowed to be in here when I'm making paint, just to keep them safe. Oh, did you see that? I just like stabbed myself. Speaking of safety, jeez. I didn't actually stab myself. Anyway, jeez, okay. Yeah, my kids aren't allowed to be in here. I don't want them to make a mess. I don't want them to get hurt or to inhale any pigment dust. So, specifically these phthalo pigments, there's a warning on the label that says that they may contain lead, which is hazardous if swallowed. So if this is eaten or ingested, that's bad for your body. That's the potentially hazardous component of this pigment. Potentially. So, it's good to know about the pigments you're using. It's good. It's a good thing. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's not going to be as refined as my normal YouTube content, but I hope you guys will enjoy getting to see this. Oh boy, okay, so I'm a mess. I'm a complete mess. I'm covered in paint, but our paint is done. I hope you guys can see that, and it's not terribly bright. This is the finished version over here, slightly watered down a little bit. Anyway, we're gonna see how many pans we can get here. I'm not gonna fill as many as I can because I want to save some to fill, to do the, you know, multiple pourings once it dries. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this over here. We'll make room. These guys are drying. Ooh. So now I'm just going to, why am I using this one? This is not the one I want. I want the little one. I'm gonna use a little palette knife. You see that? I'm gonna use this little palette knife to fill up some pans. I'm going to experiment with only filling them up maybe halfway and seeing if that helps them to dry flatter and quicker. With a paint this runny, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Some of my thicker paints that have more pigment in them tend to dry with cracks or holes. I'm not really worried about it with this one. The runnier paints tend to just sink and dry pretty flat. This process gets pretty messy, and to be honest, that's okay with me. I mean, the filling of the pans, the whole thing is crazy messy. The phthalo, working with this phthalo color is probably the messiest of all of my paint making experiences because the powder gets everywhere if you're not careful. Because it's a multi-pigment blend, which hopefully will be easier in the future, it just gets everywhere. There are a lot of ways I would fine-tune this process if I was going to be a professional paint maker. Like having things measured out, more things measured out by weight. I am doing some things by weight, but also if I was a professional, I would not be doing this alone. I would have help because this is a lot for one person. I don't think one person could be a paint making business by themselves. Because, I mean, making the paints is one thing, but then you go, it takes me this long to make one color. You know, what if you want to have a set of a dozen colors? That would take months. From the time it takes to make all the paint, the batches, you know. Even if you made paint full-time for a week, you might be able to make your batches, but then you need at least a couple of weeks for everything to dry. And then there's packing it up, so wrapping all the paints, packaging them. If you're doing swatches or any fancy packaging, that stuff takes crazy amounts of time, like at least as much time as it takes to make the paint. You have to spend that much time packing it up, so that takes so long. And then you know, that doesn't account for if you're like me and you're like, I'm running into some issues with this batch, so I had to make a lot of adjustments. So like right now I can hear my kids downstairs playing with their daddy. It sounds like he's wrestling with them in the living room, and I'm up here working on paints that I was hoping would take, you know, 2 hours less than it did. So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be negative because I'm happy to be able to do this, to have the opportunity. But would I rather be downstairs wrestling with my kids at this particular moment? Yes. I don't really want to end this on like a bittersweet note. I'm excited to have this giant batch of Phthalo blue. I currently have paint in, let's see, how many pans here? 3, 6, 9, 10 pans. So I'm going to stop at 10 for now, and we'll put the rest into this larger container here, and use that to top off our pans as they dry. And then if I have any extra, once all the pans are full and dry, I'll start new pans. But I'm probably saving maybe half of this batch to top off my pans. So 10 pans is kind of a lot, you know, it's good. I think I have maybe 2 or 3 of this color currently, so that's enough for me to have a batch to like sell, you know. So that's fine. Hey cutie.
Hey mommy.
What you doing?
I'm doing a fishing house.
Oh, you're gonna do the fishing house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes me happy. Oh, oh.
What?
I almost got the paint on the corner of this thing. Is your brother gonna help?
Yeah. I think so.
I hope you guys have fun with the fishing house.
I'll definitely have fun because I've been asking.
Mm-hmm. I love you. Hey!
What?
I said I love you!
I love you too, mommy. I love you too, daddy.
Oh boy, this is getting really full. Okay, I don't want to fill this up anymore. So, the remaining paint, I'm just gonna put it into a half pan. So we'll put a lid on this. This is crazy full, actually, to be really careful. That's gonna be more than enough paint. I'm gonna have enough to make more half pans, which is great. That's good news. Ooh. So I am going to put this somewhere out of the light, and then these guys will get covered back up so they don't get dust on them while they dry. I will check back on them in a couple of days. I'll keep you guys updated. Boop. And I'm gonna clean up and go hang out with my family. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch as much of this video as you have watched. I'm a big mess, and I'll have a lot more stuff to share with you guys in the future. Bye bye.